Hi, everybody. Claudia Glassman here with Mighty Oak Parenting. I wanted to talk a little bit today about creating a mindfulness practice for your child or your children and some quick and easy ways to incorporate mindfulness in your life. So, we hear a lot about mindfulness lately, and I think the reason for that is because we're kind of craving that. We're craving that stillness, craving that presence. The world moves quickly, and we're bombarded with information and distractions. And even when we have a quiet moment, we find ourselves on our phones or doing something else. And very rarely are we still and quiet. And I think this trend has kind of picked up because there's really just a need for it. Our bodies kind of need this stillness and we need the skills to regroup and to calm down and to center ourselves and to be present. So I think that's kind of why it's picked up. But there's also been a lot of research done on mindfulness and mindfulness in children. And essentially, they're finding that mindfulness helps children regulate their emotions as well as benefits them cognitively and benefits them in terms of the ability to focus and the ability to make decisions and the ability to calm themselves and to manage overwhelming feelings. And so it's a really great way to introduce coping skills to children that they can use throughout their life to manage overwhelming situations and kind of bring themselves back to a centered space. Now, the best way to start a mindfulness practice and to incorporate this into your life with your children is really as a parent to do your own practice, to try a couple of these exercises out, read up on mindfulness, get more information, and start your own practice so that you're better able to teach your children, walk them through it, explain it to them. So I encourage all parents to do that. It's really hard to teach your child something that you have no experience with or not even, you have never tried, right? And so it's really good to just incorporate your own practice. It also sets a good example. Children are watching what we're doing. So if they see you doing the practice, they may jump on board at some point too. A couple of things that mindfulness is not and will not do. So mindfulness isn't about performance, right? You're not good at it or bad at it. It's just it just is, right? It's being present in the moment, being aware in the moment, not judging the moment, right? So there's not really an evaluative component of mindfulness. It's just an acceptance of things as they are. Now, so having said that, when our children do it, now there may be activities they like, there may be some that they don't push it. If they don't want to do it, that's okay, right? We can find another activity, or maybe mindfulness is for another time. Mindfulness is not meant to be a punishment. So if a child's misbehaving, it's not like go practice your mindfulness exercises, right? Things that we practice in a calm state, it's more helpful to practice things in a calm state so that hopefully they become more automatic and we can use them when we're stressed out. But a lot of times when we're overwhelmed, having someone tell you to calm down or breathe, right, can sometimes be infuriating. And that's because you're not in the headspace to do it. So this is the same thing when you're starting a practice. Don't, when your child's absolutely losing it, they may not be interested in doing the activity, especially if it's new. So definitely kind of don't use it as a punishment or a way to manage behaviors, right? It's just skill building. We're learning these skills and we're doing this together. It also isn't going to miraculously make child challenges go away, right? So I do mindfulness with my two girls, and we still have fights and we still have tantrums and we still get overwhelmed with emotions, and it hasn't erased that. But what it does is it creates more of an awareness for my kids. They're better able to regroup, faster able to regroup. They'll start to, as they develop and their brains develop, right? We're also a little bit hindered by just brain development and development in general. So, but as they start to develop, they'll get more and more able to utilize these skills. And so it's just a practice. It's literally just a practice so that hopefully when you need them, you can use them. But there's no judgment if they can't, right? There's people that practice this years, right? And lifelong, and we still get stumped every now and then. And so we really want to just keep that in mind, that there's no real performance or outcome that we're expecting. And that it isn't going to make, the general childhood issues or challenges that we sometimes face as parents go away. Our children will probably still have tantrums. They will still get overwhelmed. They will just now have a repertoire of tools that they are going to be better able to manage those things, and especially as they get older and continue to develop. So I want to jump into some of the exercises we do in my house. There are a million ways you can incorporate mindfulness in your day-to-day. I just wanted to give you guys a couple of suggestions without doing like a 4-hour long video. Although I might do a webinar on this at some point in the future now that I'm talking and thinking about how much information I have on this subject. So let me just start real quick with a couple of these exercises to get you started and to get you kind of thinking about it. So the first thing we do a lot in my house is mindfulness walking. And we do this one of two ways. The first way is we're just kind of outside, and the game, or the activity, I suppose I should say, is that we identify everything we hear. What sounds do we hear? Can we identify the different types of birds? Do we hear the cars? Is it a big car, a little car, right? Just really focusing on what we hear and focusing on that auditory input and what's going on in our world in this very moment in terms of our hearing. The other activity we do is our rainbow walk, and we just take a walk and begin to list all the things we see that correlate to the colors in the rainbow. So we start with red and all the things we see in our vicinity that are red. Then we move on to orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, right? We kind of go through until we finish the colors. Sometimes my kids are like, do it again, and we start over. And sometimes they've had enough. But that really starts to, get the focus on finding those colors, observing your environment, seeing what's going on, really paying attention to it. Anytime we're focusing on one specific thing and honing in our focus onto that thing when everything else kind of disappears, that is a mindfulness practice. And that can be done walking down the street, just focusing on your feet touching the sidewalk and your breathing. That's it. That's mindfulness. 30 seconds. You can do that while you're walking from your car into whatever building, right? So you can do a lot of these quick activities throughout your day. The third activity we do is mindful rocks. We have a jar full of rocks, some of which have been painted, some of which have not. And we all pick a rock, and then we talk about this rock. And so it's just, again, focusing on that moment. What color is the rock? Do you see sparkles in it? What colors do you see in the rock? Is it heavy, light, smooth, bumpy, rough? What are we seeing? And we just really focus on that. The fourth practice we do is a gratitude practice. Now, this isn't technically the same type of mindfulness in terms of the other exercises I've been talking about, but I think gratitude's a huge part of mindfulness. And here's why. Gratitude, and if we're going to be able to identify things we're grateful for, it means that we're focusing on, in this very moment, the things that we are grateful for, that we appreciate. And it seems to shift for myself, and I think for my children, although they're younger, so they don't necessarily have the same perspective I do. But it starts to shift the focus from this place of lacking that we sometimes come from as people to a place of abundance. So instead of all these things that I don't have, or I wish I had, or I'm trying to get, or trying to do, or trying to become, or whatever, it's really just accepting how things are and being grateful for the things you have. And so you're no longer focusing on this lack, but you're focusing on the abundance of the things that you have. So I just like incorporating that. We do that every night before bed. Again, we call it our gratefuls. You can call it whatever you want. But it's just a really nice way to end the day and to kind of keep things in perspective. And the final exercise I'm going to go over here is the body scan and the muscle relaxation. And so this one is how my kids scan their bodies and identify any feelings in their bodies. Where do you feel tight, tense, butterflies, right? Anything. There's no judgment. Again, it's whatever they come up with. And kind of talk about that. And then we start kind of the relaxation process. And so I like to start my relaxation process with what I call the healing light. But basically, I have my children imagine that there is a star above their head. And this star is shining a bright light, white light, into their head and through their whole body. And so then I just go on to slowly describe, the way it feels. So the white light is filling your forehead and your nose. You feel it filling your ears and your chin. And now your whole head is filled with this white light. And you feel so calm and so comfortable. Sometimes I say the word relaxed, kind of just whatever words seem to fit for your family. And then it starts to move down your neck into your shoulders, filling your arms all the way down to your fingertips with this white healing light, letting them feel so calm, so relaxed, so comfortable. Okay. And then I do that and I go all the way through the body until I get to their toes. After that, I begin to do a muscle relaxation exercise. So then I have them squeeze their toes and count to 5, and then release it. And then squeeze your legs as tight as you can, count to 5, release it. And I go through the whole body groups, their buttocks, their arms, their hands, their fists. We scrunch our face, pull up our shoulders. And then I end with tightening every muscle in your body as best as you can for 5 seconds and release. And at the end of that, you can ask your child to scan again, or you can skip it. If you want to know just if anything shifted, the scan is helpful, just to see if any of those feelings have shifted after you've done these exercises. But this is a great one because it allows our children just to take inventory of their physical sensations and how they feel, right? And you'll start to see where they hold anxiety and hold stress. And that just helps them as they move through life to really be aware of their own feelings and their own internal states. And that's really what we want, is we want to create an awareness of internal states and of what's happening externally, and this ability to cope and navigate so that we stay regulated and healthy and able to manage the world we live in. And so that's really the key concept for me, and why I find it so helpful in my own life. So if you feel like you need a couple of extra things that are maybe a little more concrete, there are a couple books that my kids have that are mindfulness based that I just wanted to share with you because we love these. So this actually is a whole series of books that you can get. They're different animals and different topics. This is Carrie Lee McLean, and this is Peaceful Piggy Meditation. And there's a whole collection of other books in these series that are great. I don't have them all, but I wish I did. So my kids love this one. And then this is a good one as well. This is Tiger, Tiger, Is It True? By Byron Katie and Hans Wilhelm. And this is a great one because it has some questions in here for parents, which I love, just to give you more of an idea and a thought of ways to have these conversations with your kids. Now, I'll tell you, my 3-year-old loves the story, but I don't think quite gets it. My 5-year-old gets it a little bit more. However, if you have mixed age children, I wouldn't say don't read it, because I think there's always going to be components of it that they can start to internalize, right? And just hearing the story plants those seeds. So it's a great one. It talks a lot about our thoughts and how, how to kind of think about if our thoughts are true, or if they're more driven by, fear or anxiety or some other issue, right? And then it kind of looks at how our thoughts impact the way we feel, and then ways to manage that and ways to kind of question our thoughts. And it's the tiger thinks nobody likes him because his friends didn't play with him at school today. And so it's kind of walking through, are you sure nobody likes you? There's nobody in this world that likes you. And so he's like, well, yeah, there are people that like me, right? And he kind of goes through all of that so that he's not so sad anymore at the end of the story. Great story. And then this one's another favorite. My kids, this is like a book more for parents. It's no pictures, nothing in there for kids, but these are, it's Starbright. It's Meditations for Children. This has some great stories in it for kids. I like to do that at night before we go to sleep. They're short. They're just kind of guided imagery stories that can kind of help a child just kind of get absorbed in that world. And they're short enough for an adult to memorize a couple of them. So you can just do them off the cuff, which is kind of nice. But that's another one. My kids love the stories in that book too. So if you just wanted a little bit more, something a little more structured to kind of help you out, or to give you some more ideas of how to take it to another level, those books are great as well. So I hope you enjoyed this segment. I hope you start some of these mindfulness activities in your home today. You'll see as you start to do more and more of them, you'll find other ways where you can create more mindful activities. You're eating and all of a sudden you're mindful eating, and what does it taste like, and what do the textures feel like, and what you can kind of go through all of that. So you'll find that you may find additional ways to incorporate it. But like I said, there's endless opportunities to incorporate mindfulness into your day in small doses that are really easy and don't require you to meditate for an hour, right? And if you build up to that, great. But any amount of this is super helpful just to help us, become more self-aware, become more aware and connected to our bodies, and really in the present. And in this world where we're a little anxious and we're worried, Mindfulness is a great vacation from that. If you're in the moment, strictly in this moment, then you can't be anxious about the future or worried about the past, right? Or worried about the future and shameful of the past, or whatever the challenges may be. So hopefully you can incorporate some of this into your day-to-day. I hope you guys all have a fantastic day, and I will be talking to you again soon in the near future. Bye.